I want to talk about my favorite shows. Um, um, my favorite soap operas probably was The Garden Light with Kim Zimmer and Josh. What a super couple. I liked her with Kyle too. And who else? Young and Restless with Jill, Jill, the first Jill, her and Catherine fights and they were something, man. With their fights. The Brooks Sisters. I think the Brooks Sisters was the first family, like, you know, and on the Young and Restless family type, the Brooks Sisters, and then the Abbott family, Ashley, and I like Ashley with Victor. But of course he was with Nikki, but I liked him with Ashley, you know, and who else? Ryan's Hope. I liked the family of like the Ryan's Hope family, the family type thing. You know, I like the Jill and the first Frank, and you know, and her and Delia fights. And stuff like that. Who else? Days of Our Lives. I don't know if I began watching it, but then I stopped watching. I was really. General Hospital. I like the Heather and Annie fighting over Jeff. Heather was something else. She was something, man. On General Hospital, man. She was something. She was something. I like the punk rock that was out at that time in the '80s. The punk rock, because they had the dressings of the punk rock, and I like the leg warmers in the '80s and all that type stuff. Who else? And All My Children with Jenny and Liza. And they were fighting, and One Life to Live, Nikki Smith and Victoria and all. It was something back in those days. The Ice Princess with Luke and Laura and all this sort of stuff. And, you know, and he raping her, and then she falls in love with him. I don't know, man. I don't know. At that time, it was okay, you know. And you know, I mean, I think at that time a bunch of soap operas was in there. The Brady Bunch. I like the Brady Bunch, the family thing. Good Times. I think Good Times was, you know, a family living in the projects, and most of the time, a lot of black families, well, some were living in projects at the time and stuff like that. And I like Walona and the mother and James. I think when they took the father off the show, it really hurt. I think it hurt a lot of African Americans looking at that they took the father off. But I think they probably won't have another show like that. But I liked the Winona because she was something. Winona. And the Jeffersons, I think the Jeffersons, I mean, they moved up, but I didn't like, George calling the neighbors, the white and black woman, the black woman and the white guy. I didn't like George calling them whitey. I didn't like that. I didn't think it may have gotten a bunch of laughs, but I don't think that was okay to do. But it did show Black America trying to move up. Yeah, but but I think the wife, she always kept George in place, man. And then you had Florence, and her and George had all these fights, man. You know, but I don't know. Those were the days. And you had All in the Family, and I didn't really like the racist stuff with that. I mean, I'll watch it, but I think the son-in-law and the wife, Edith, let Archie know that it wasn't good to be racist and stuff like that. I like Mr. Rogers. That comes on the PBS channel. Mr. Rogers, I always like to watch him, because he had a way with kids. He or anybody that was watching. I was young, but I still watched him when I got older too. And but I think he had some peace about him. He had and he would always talk about, you know, like respecting your neighbor, like Mr. Rogers in the neighborhood, you know, and respecting each other, like, and he would have stories on him. Then he would go to a lot of companies and show how they make different stuff, and he will put a video in and to show how they make different stuff in the factories. And you know, I like Sesame Street. I still like Sesame Street. Bert and Ernie. You know, the kids when they count and stuff. I still like to watch that. You know, when I get a chance to you know, I think I got some stuff on Sesame Street. You know, I still like to watch that. The Cosby Kids, the Fat Albert, you know, stuff like that. I still like to watch the cartoon stuff. And Speed Racer and all that stuff. I still like to watch that type of stuff. I don't care if it's cartoon. I don't care how old I get. I still like to watch that. Shirley Temple. I don't think I outgrow Shirley Temple, man. She was something, man, to watch, and she, um, uh, I, um, I think that they probably couldn't use her if she had a mother, on the show. They probably couldn't use her in the ways that they did if she had a mother on the show. It was always, she was orphaned or someone took her in. There was a male there to help her out. There was a family there to help her out. It was like she didn't have a mother there. Like, but I think in order for them to do that, they couldn't put a mother there. Based on all the shows that she did, they couldn't put a mother there because then she would have been at home with the mother. So I think that they couldn't put a mother in those Shirley Temple shows. A mother that was always there. They couldn't do that if they wanted to use her in all those ways. They put her with a lot of males. But I think if she had a mother on the show all the time, they probably couldn't use her with the males all the time. But I think she sing and dance and and she was the role model for a lot of young kids at that time. And I think she continued to do that. I mean, with all those shows, they still selling. I imagine that the Shirley Temple TV shows, I think they're still selling. And stuff like that. I still watch her. I don't give a shit how old I get. I don't even care. You know, because I think, she was one that you could watch, especially as little kids, But I don't care how old I get. I still watch Shirley Temple. Yeah. Yeah. I like game shows. I like The Price is Right. I still watch The Price is Right game show. Trying to be the guessing game and stuff like guessing stuff, guessing letters on Wheel of Fortune, guessing, guess. Not that you always get it right, but just guess. You know, and guess. You know, but you know, and Charlie's Angels. I like Charlie's Angels when Charlie's Angels came out. It was something back then. But I just like the first season with Jackson Smith and Farrah and Kate Jackson, whatever. And I think that was the best season to me. I think Farrah was the pretty one. So was Jackson Smith, but I think Jackie Smith was the, she was the more successful one because she got clothing lines and furniture lines and everything. And after the Charlie Angels thing, after that Charlie Angels ended, she was the more successful one. Like, 'cause she sold clothes at Kmart and she I think she was selling furniture too and stuff. And she's still out there selling after all this time. She's still out there selling stuff. I imagine her stuff is still out there in them stores, man. Um, you know, it, you know. Um, um, Arsenio Hall show. I think his show was great back in the 80s. Um, uh, he booked it. It didn't matter, white, blacks, whatever. Um, but I think it was good to have a black man have a show like that and bring on all kinds of acts, and stuff like that. Acts, or interviews, just, play interview anybody he will interview. I think he ran up against Johnny Carson, at that time and stuff like that. I think it was great back then, But I think he tried again in around 2013. But I think the times changed, and it just wasn't the same. I think he tried with the Arsenio Hall show again, and it didn't last because the times had changed. And then a lot of people wasn't at home just sitting watching TV all the time or whatever, like it was in the 80s. It was a different time. So, but I think he did a great job back in the 80s. The Cosby Show. I think the Cosby Show was one show that was like groundbreaking in a sense, whatever you want to call it. I think I think racism wasn't like addressed there. I think Cosby addressed racism by putting other races on the show. That's how he did it. He didn't address the race problem, but I think he just put whites, blacks, Hispanic, and Chinese on the show, and that's how he dealt with it. I think that people would say, was that a natural African American family? Well, I wouldn't say it was. I think that there are families out there who has doctors, lawyers, or whatever out there. They probably just wasn't in your neighborhood, and I think that I didn't see a lot of doctors and lawyers in my neighborhood that was black. That don't mean that it wasn't out there. But I think people were saying that that wasn't a real family. I think in some way it did. It wasn't reality for some people. The Cosby Show. And I think in some ways it was, in some way it wasn't. and so but I think that um, labeling it as, you can make it in this type world if you become successful and this, that, and the other, and also stuff. But that's not for everybody though, because everybody ain't successful. So, but I think that again, I think it was a reality for some people, and it wasn't reality for others. Especially when you're coming from different types of neighborhoods, and then expect them to believe that you can have a lawyer as a wife and a doctor as a father. And I don't think that was reality for some families, for some blacks that live in certain neighborhoods. And I think that and that was reality for some families. I think on the other hand, people had they might not have been doctors or lawyers, or some have been doctor and lawyer, but others could have been school teachers, others could have been judges, others could, been lawyers, stuff like that, and very successful. It didn't necessarily mean they were doctors and lawyers, and stuff like that. So I think on one hand it was a good thing. On the other hand, it wasn't. It wasn't the typical African American family. I don't think the Cosby Show was the typical African American family. But I think there was successful people out there who were blacks. But you had to face reality with that, man, because I think a lot of people look at the Cosby Show. I think people didn't look at it as much as the lawyer and I mean, some people probably looked at the lawyer and the doctor, but I think if that wasn't reality for some families or whatever, they probably looked at it for the laughs and just to hang around, with the family for that day or whatever, to hang around and watch that family for that day, or whenever the Cosby Show was on. But it even though the doctor and lawyer wasn't the reality in their family or whatever. And stuff like that. It don't necessarily have to be the doctor and lawyer to watch. I mean, you don't have to. There's a lot of things that I didn't grow up with. I still like to watch certain shows. It may not be a reality as far as they might not have lived the way I live, but I still like to watch the show though. And stuff like that. So I don't know. I think, but again, I think it wasn't the typical African American family, and I think that people were, saying that it wasn't, and for others it wasn't, and the other thing was that you can look like that, but you can't say that for every family though. You can't say that for every African American family that they can grow up being doctors and lawyers. You can't say that. And especially when you look in some neighborhoods. You can't say that. And so, and some people might not have, money or schooling and stuff like that, so you can't really say that, and that's why I say for some families it wasn't the typical African American families, and I think a lot of people that looked at the Cosby Show was like, saying that it wasn't reality. For a lot of African Americans, it was deceiving you know, certain African American people, deceiving them, you know, based on that show. And I think for some, again, I think for some, you know, not every African American has a doctor and a lawyer in their family, you know, and stuff like that. I'm not saying that there isn't such thing out there, but they might not be doctors or lawyers. They could be school teachers, judges, lawyers, whatever. But for some families, it wasn't even that. So I don't think it was a typical African American family, and to be deceived about that, you know, people was like, hey, you can't look at that show and say that's the typical African American family, and they're right, and they're right, you know, and I think it can be deceiving, to believe that you can live like that, you know, in a lot of families, and they doesn't, and when they doesn't see that they have the means and stuff like that, they won't say, hey, I thought you said I can live like that. Well, why ain't I living like that? So it can be deceiving to a lot of families, you know, that doesn't have the means and money and education and stuff like that. So it can be deceiving, but you know, but I think that, and again, but I think it's the families, you know, had to sit down with their children and talk about that shit, you know, and not let them be deceived about the Cosby Show, you know, like that, you know. Um, you know, because, you know, they, especially if they're young and think that it can be that way, and then when it doesn't turn out that way, they say, hey, I thought you said I could be this way. What happened? You know, and shit like that. So, you know, and I think that that's when families need to sit down with those children and tell them, hey, I mean, it's possible, but hey, if he doesn't have the means, I mean, it may not be possible, right? You know, and stuff like that. But All in the Family, I think All in the Family was, I think All in the Family, I think it was some racism going on, but with Archie. But I think that Edith and the son-in-law, you know, tried to put Archie in his place about that, because he wanted, you know, to be racist, you know, and shit like that, and I think because that was the #1 show, and so was the Cosby's, but I think because at that time when Archie Bunko stayed #1 for 5 seasons. I think because of the race problem. I think one reason was because of the race problem, and and people was okay with Archie saying the racist stuff at that time, and I didn't like the way he called her dingbat and shit like that. I didn't like that shit. I liked it, Edith. You know, and I didn't like how he treated her. You know, and again, and that was another thing that I looked at too. Not only the race problem, the way he treated her. And some people probably was okay with that, like mistreating their wives and shit like that, and was okay with seeing Archie do that. But I wasn't. I never was okay with that shit. You know, I remember when I was younger, but as I got older and I still watch it, but I ain't okay with him mistreating her like that. But I think back in those days, I think the race problem and the way he treated his wife, people was okay with that. You know, and stuff like that. And I think Edith and Rob, I think the son-in-law named Rob or whatever, he tried to put Archie in his place about that. Edith and Rob, to keep him from trying to be racist, and but he had his own ideas. He sort of like come around at the end of the day, but still he carried that along, and I think people were okay with it. That's probably why he was #1 for 5 consecutive seasons, and the way that he was treating Edith. Yeah. I like Family. The show Family with Buddy. And the mother and stuff like that. I liked that show. Let me see. At that time, I'm not sure. Again, Oprah. The Oprah Winfrey Show. I think she brought on as many acts as she could. I think she just really just. My boyfriend sleeping with my mother and all that. I don't think that she was okay with that. I think maybe the beginning, but I don't think she was okay with that. Having a show like that and having shows like that, using her show with shows like that, which wasn't really getting anywhere with that. And I think Oprah said, "Hey, I'm gonna make this show better," and with other better topics and having stars on there. She had quite a few stars on there and all that stuff. She had the stars. She had the weight problem stuff. She had abuse and all kinds of stuff. She did all kinds of stuff. I think she did a great run with the 25 years that she did it. She made a lot of money, I know that. But she, I think she made a lot of money with it. I think she was the first African American that was that became rich, the female, rich, like she did. I don't know nobody that was in television that became rich like that. Not in television. I think I'm talking about African American, aside from Cosby. And I'm talking about female, by the way. I don't know nobody that became successful in television. That was African American. The female. I think Cosby became very successful with the Cosby Show and other shows that he did, the Fat Albert, kids say. But I think Oprah, she pulled it up. I mean, she got a chance and she ran with it, and she became very successful. She's still making money, man. And she takes it to another level, like with movies and does movies and interviews and all that stuff. You know, got her own network and, you know, put other people on that network and stuff like that. I think she's very successful. You know, I think she's very successful. I think, you know, she's probably the richest African American female out there. I don't know. I don't know about the richest. I don't know about the richest female, but I think she's probably the richest African American female that's out there. You know, and you know, and she opened up the school thing and for the children over in Africa. You know, I think she did. She using her money the way she want. People is like, well, why can't you do here in America? She can use her money the way she want. It's hers. You know, you can't tell people what to do with their own money, man. I think she can just do what she wants with it. It's hers. Yeah. Yeah. Cop shows. Yeah. I wasn't really into the cop stuff, the cop shows. Let me see. Talk shows. Of course, they had all those talk shows out in the 80s. Ricky Lake and Jenny Jones and whoever else. But all them talk shows gone now. And, you know, and, yeah, the TV changed. They got all the reality shows out there now. I really wasn't. I did watch Kim Kardashian and stuff. I didn't watch that too long. I just wanted to see what it was, you know, really about, whatever. And after that, I stopped watching. I wasn't interested. I think they exploit, you know, I mean, if they're willing to come and go on those shows and talk about their lives and stuff, that's their business. You know, but I think they're old enough to do that, you know. But I think people that do that, they put their children out there and stuff, and, you know, put them right in front of the media to see. Not only regular people, but media too. You know, and you know, because they're getting paid for it. Yeah, like that. And they're making money off of it. Yeah. But you don't know what they're gonna do, you know, in the future with that, you know. Yeah. But you know. But people, they're old enough to get up on there and talk about their lives and shit like that. I mean, like, yeah. I mean, their personal stuff, man. You know, I think some stuff should be off limits to 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 the press, and especially when it's children involved and stuff, because they can slice them up like a Thanksgiving turkey, man. And the media always got those video vaults to pull out whatever you say. You know, like that. And, you know, especially when you talk about personal stuff, man. I talk about my dreams and signals and stuff, but I'm not talking about my personal life. My personal life. I'm not talking about that. But I think people does it because they getting paid for it. You know, like that. But you know, you know, the reality shows help people get places, this, that, and the other, and all this sort of stuff. The reality shows. You know, I like the kids say the darndest things because kids do say the darndest things. You know, when you, especially the ones that, like the ones that's like 4, 5, between 4 and 5, them ones, you know, they say the darndest things, and you know, yeah, let me see, the talk shows, the talk shows and the reality shows are, I mean, they want juicy stuff, and they would try to manipulate the person that they interviewing, you know, to get questions out of them and this, that, and the other, and all this so bullshit, you know, and you know, because when you go on their show, they're either selling books, CDs, you know, DVDs, movies, you know, CD, this, that, and the other. Can you talk about such and such? I know I may be off limits, but you know, can we talk about certain things, you know, and stuff like that, and you know, like that. And, even though they come on the show, on those talk shows, and they selling books, DVDs, CDs, music, whatever they're selling, and then they say, hey, can you talk about some of that personal life of yours? You know, what's going on with you? I mean, I read something the other day. Can you talk about that? And you know, them talk shows, they is something, man. Those hosts are something. They try to interview you and try to get shit up out of you, man. And, you know, knowing that there's something you don't want to talk about. You know, that you don't want to talk about. And, you know, they try to manipulate you and say and tell you, try to get you to talk about this, that, and the other, and all this sort of shit. You know, because you is on this show trying to sell CD, DVD, and anything else, you know, and stuff like that. they something else, man. You know. There's something else. Those news outlets, oh, man. Same thing, man. Those news outlets is something, man. I remember when the old OJ, oh jeez, man, OJ. I don't know if OJ did what he did to his ex-wife. I, um, I think that's for him and God. Well, between him and God now, because he was acquitted. But OJ, I don't know if that person was telling the truth that he was driving the wrong way back, the wrong way, trying to hurry up and get home that night because he claimed he was home. Um, so I don't know. I don't know if he did it, but hey, that's between him and God now because he was acquitted. You know, like that. But I don't know how he can look in those, if he did it. If he did it. I don't know how he can look in those kids' faces. Knowing if he did it. If he did it. I don't know how he could look in those kids' faces. And knowing that if he took their mother away from them. If he done that. I don't know if he done it. But if he did, I don't know how he can look in those kids' faces. His children's faces. Knowing that he took their mother away from them. I don't know how he could look at that. Look them in their faces. You know. But you know, you know, I don't know. You know, I can look at the limo driver and the lady said she saw him driving the wrong way street, trying to hurry up and get in the house, and he claimed he was home. So I don't know. I don't know, man. But that's between him and God now, man. And, you know, God, if he did it, God gonna make him pay for that. You know, you know, um, you know, and same thing with Cosby, man. He might not can get justice for what he did to those women. What he did to those women. I don't think I think Cosby is getting justice in a way. And OJ, in a way. Because they doesn't want him on, you know, in certain places and this, that, and the other, and all. So Cosby and OJ is paying the price, but I think you know, when it comes to the public, because they doesn't want to even be bothered by neither one of them, you know, and stuff like that. So I think they is kind of paying the price in the public, but as far as what Cosby did to those women. That's it. He got to pay. He got to answer to God with that, because he's not going to be charged what he did to those men. And you know, and so I think him. That's between him and God now. You know. But I don't know how he knew that he was in the public eye, man, and did those things to those women. I don't know how he thought that he would do that and get away. I don't know how he thought that he would get away with that. You know, I think he thought maybe he drugged them and that was enough, but it wasn't. It wasn't enough for them to say, hey, he drugged me. You know, drugging them wasn't enough. You know, you know, I don't know how he thought he could do that And they would never ever say anything about it. I don't know how he thought that. You know, and because he was a star, you know, the news outlets are always waiting on a story. And I don't know how he thought he was going to get away with that. I'm talking about with the women. I don't know how he thought he was going to get away with that without hitting the news outlets. Is what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that I don't know how he thought that drugging and raping and sexually assaulting those women, that he was going to get away with that, and that they will never ever say anything about that. I don't know how he thought he was going to get away with that. You know, knowing that he's a star. You know, knowing that he was a star. And that the news outlet is always waiting for a story. You know, like that. And you know, I think he's not being charged with any of that. But you know, I think he's gonna have to answer with God with that now. Yeah. And I think it's, you know, looking at the Cosby Show, in some ways it's, I look at the Cosby Show and I certainly look at it differently. You know, knowing what I know about Cosby. I try to look at it, you know, just to be looking at it, but you just can't help when you see him on there, you can't help to think what he did to those women. You know, you can't help but to know what he did to those women. You know. You know. My favorite comedians, Lucy. Man, she's something, man. Lucy, my favorite. Woman comedian, my favorite. And Wanda. Wanda Sykes. Her too. Those two are my favorites. Comedians. Women comedians. That's in comedy or whatever. Those two are my favorites. Wanda is something, man. Wanda got a personality. Wanda is something, man. Not like Wanda, man. Wanda is something. Wanda Sykes. My favorite, man. Hey, Wanda. But the males, Paul Mooney was my favorite. Paul Mooney was different. He said what the fuck he wanted to say. He didn't care who the hell was in the audience or anything like that. And I think he talked about the race problem more than anybody else I know. He was not afraid to do that. And I think he let white America know, you know, about the race problem. And, you know, he was fearless. Like, he didn't have any fear. He, it didn't matter if it bothered his paycheck or nothing. He didn't care about that. If he didn't get booked in certain places because he addressed the race problem and this, that, and the other, and all this sort of stuff, he didn't care about that. I think he wanted blacks to be respected and confronts white America about that. You know, and he never backed down. Yeah, you know, in some ways I thought he's brutally honest. You know, in some ways I thought I was like, man, you know, and you know, I wish he hadn't said that, you know. But you know, he was brutally honest. Like, and you know, you couldn't stifle him. You know, he said what he wanted to say, and he didn't care who knew it. You know, the talk shows. I think Whoopi Goldberg and Cheryl Underwood, I think they put those two black women at the head of the table because they knew that they could control or have fan base, and could control what goes on at that table, man. And not so much, you know, what they would say, but I think that the people who put them at the head of the table knew what they were doing, and I think because again they let those two black women run the table. The View, and the Talk, and you know, and of course they bring on different people on the show. You know, the Talk, young, old, whatever. I mean, they sit at the table. Young, old, doesn't matter. But I think they knew that it was best that they had a black woman sitting at the head of the table. And that they still can bring on any race at the table. That sit at the table. They can bring in any race to sit at the table. They put two black women at the head of the table. But I think that they wanted them to control what goes on at the table. But bring in any race to sit at the table and talk about whatever. Like that. And I think they did a great job by putting them at the head of the table. And two women who, again, I think because of their personality too. Cheryl Underwood and Whoopi Goldberg, their personality. You know, both comedians. actresses. Sure, Whoopi Goldberg, actress too, but she was a comedian first, and I think Whoopi Goldberg has Whoopi Goldberg can say what she want. But I think that if she wanted to stay on The View, she had to not say what she wanted. Cheryl Underwood, they talk about The View, and they talk about whatever. Yeah. But it's a good thing that they can put young and old women at the table. Like and all races at the table, not just young and old women, but all races at the table. Like that, and but I think they did that for. I think they put those two black women at the head of the table to have it there for a long time. I think that's why they did it. Yeah, I think that's why they did it. So I think the black women, because black women would watch, and again, they can always get whites to sit at the table. But I think one of the reasons why they put black women at the table, because they both were comedians, and they have a personality to deal with all different type. But I think that they the African Americans that withdrew African Americans have an African American audience, and again, they can always bring in whites, Hispanic, or Chinese at the table. But I think it was to draw in, to put two black women at the table so that it would draw blacks into watch. And then, again, they can do the co-hosts, bring in any race or any age at the table. Like that. And that's how they did it. Instead of putting two whites at the end, they're sitting at the head of the table. Instead of putting two whites at the head of the table, they put two blacks at the head of the talk and the view. And, 'cause the black women would draw, the black women, Whoopi and Cheryl would draw the black audience. And then the white audience will probably show up, and the audience, or even at home watching TV, white, Hispanic, or Chinese. And again, it's a woman's show. Women has always ruled daytime. Women has always ruled that. And that's why they put the men on at night. Like Johnny Carson and Jay Leno and all them, they put them on at night. They did not put them on during the day, because women rule daytime. And they put them on, and again, the View and the talk could bring white women, Hispanic women, and Chinese women to co-host the show, like that. And that's how they did it, and it worked. Look how long the View been on. Look how long the talk been on. Cheryl Underwood been there since the talk. I think it's like the 12th season now. That's nothing new. That's nothing new. That's nothing new, man. They can but again, that's how they do it. You know, that's nothing new though. Nothing new. But you know, I don't know. But sports. First, like I was always attracted to the let me see the soap opera stars. I mean, well, a couple of them. Josh and on the Guiding Light and which one? Lance on the Young and Restless. I like him and Lori together. Lance and Lori. #1 daytime couple. Daytime couple. Lori and Lance. Yeah, and then came, you know, Josh and Reva. Jill and Frank. The first Frank. And stuff like that. Sports, sports, I like basketball, and well, the basketball, I like basketball, and I like Chauncey, and who else? I think at first it was Dwayne Wade in the beginning, you know, and I went to Chauncey. You know, because I think Chauncey can run the game and run that team and get everybody involved. It's not about him scoring all the, you know, trying to score all the points or anything like that. It wasn't really about that. You know, it was more so that everybody he get everybody involved. You know, it's not just everybody scoring, one person scoring hogging up all the points and stuff like that. He can get everybody involved. But I think he's going to have to do something with that Portland Trailblazers. I mean, they brought him in there with a bad team. I mean, like, I don't know what they think he's going to do with that. They got to do a lot more stuff, you know, off season or something. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, but he's my favorite. Yeah. You know, but again, the NBA has. I'm surprised this isn't a lockout. Yeah, because it's not the same anymore. It's I think the West is more competitive, like it's more competitive than the East, and the West has always been more competitive, and that they um, I think the NBA is doing these dream teams, and they still losing. These dream teams, they're not at number one. The dream teams, they're not at number one. You know, and stuff like that. You know, and it's taking a lot of money away from the other teams. Come on over to my team. They say, we're not coming over there. You know, and stuff like that. LeBron. I seen an interview with LeBron. LeBron had wanted some teammates to come over there to wherever he was, whether it was Cleveland or the Lakers. They said no. And the reason they said no, because they know that LeBron is going to hog the ball. You know, and shit like that. And they'll never get to play, you know, and shit like that. I mean, they wouldn't play as much, because if he's hogging the ball and you know, and scoring most of all the points, and all the attention is going to them, they say, I ain't coming over there with you. You know, and shit like that. No, I'm not coming over there with you. You know, and stuff like that. And they said no. You know, and I don't blame them. You know, but I think the teams need to go back to the right way of playing. I think they should go back to the right way of playing. Like every teammate score. I mean, every teammate gets the same amount of playing time. No one is getting more playing time than the other. I think they should go back to the right way of playing, because if the teammate, if there is one person that's doing all the scoring, and what if that person is get hurt, the team loses? I mean, come on, the team loses because that person is doing all the scoring, and then when he get hurt, the team loses. I mean, come on, man. You know, I think they should go back to the right way of playing. You know, let everybody get the same amount of minutes, man. Everybody on the team get the same amount of minutes or something. You know, like that. Because you know, if you want to get a team that ride the bench all the time, man, come on, man. What's the point of being on the team? If they're going to ride the bench. You know, I think they should play the right way, man. And stop giving those stars, those superstars, hogging up the ball all the time. Or should I say, hogging up the points. You know, and shit like that, you know. And, you know, I think it's unfair to the rest of the teammates. I remember Chris Webber say it doesn't feel right if your hand doesn't touch a ball. It doesn't feel right when your hand doesn't touch the ball. You know, like that. Yeah. Again, I don't think they playing right. I think that's why they losing. Because they're not giving the upper teammates, they not building the rest of the teammates up. They letting them ride the bench. And what's the point of having these teammates when you don't let them play? you give them all these itsy-bitsy minutes. How are they going to play? Then when the playoff come, then you're going to try to throw them in there and try to see if they can do something when you doesn't do something. I mean, I don't. I don't see, and it's this take a lot of money away from the NBA when they build these dream teams. Well, the superstars all on one team, and shit like that, while the rest of the NBA plays. The rest of the NBA teams pays a price. Yeah. And the owners, what if a lot of people are not showing up, in those other teams? Or when the opposite team come to town, and depending on who it is, then they'll show up, and shit like that, while the owners of the teams suffer because, they didn't build these dream teams, and a lot of NBA owners losing money, man. I'm surprised that there isn't a lockout. I mean, they probably trying to keep it like, trying to keep their cool because of COVID. Because of the COVID situation. But I wonder, man. I know those owners lost money. I mean, you can look at COVID, they lost money with that, but also when all these superstars are going over into packing one team, and shit like that, I imagine that they lost money with that, man. I imagine that they lost money, and the NBA is not as interested as it once was either. I think the West is trying to do something. It has always tried to do something, but I don't think it's interesting as it once was. The defense is really not there, and people win easily. Yeah. I think the East, if you look at Kyrie and New Jersey Nets, man, they way at the bottom. I mean, like, I tell you, they built these dream teams and shit like that, and they way at the bottom. Like, and you look at the Lakers, the same, and the Clippers, the same way. They're at the bottom. Here, Chris Paul's running the team, and they ain't got a whole bunch of superstars up in there. I think Chris Paul is doing a great job over there, and with the Phoenix Suns, ain't no bunch of whole superstars up in there. And yet they're the first seed. And stuff like that. And I think a lot of people need to look at that dream team stuff, man. Well, it's a dream team. What y'all doing at the bottom? And shit like that. Why are y'all at the 8th and the 7th, 8th speed? What y'all doing down there? If y'all a dream team, and shit like that. I mean, like, and people should look at that and say, hey, well, we don't need no dream team there. If it's gonna be at the bottom, we doesn't need dream teams. Like that. But I don't think it's like it used to be. I'll tell you that much. The only thing I do, I look at the standings and see, that's what I do. Let me see what's at the standings. What the standings look like. I'm really not interested in really watching. Because the team, I mean, it's different now. Different. No matter who comes in the league now, I mean, like, who's been, been traded or came into the league, and You know, but it is what it is now. You know, but you know, I don't know if I had. I don't know if I would have been a basketball player. And I'm just being honest with that. I don't think that that's what I wanted to do. I mean, I think it was something that you could, you know, just throw the ball up at me once in a while. But hey, I don't think it was something I wanted to do for long term. I don't think that. I didn't think I wanted to do that for long term. Um, I think that, you know, I think God used Kobe, yeah, you know, with that. But I think you know, did some helping out with that. But it was never a thing where I wanted to do it long periods of time. Yeah, yeah. But I do like um, the other sports, um, the um, the Olympics. I like the gymnastics and track. I like to watch that and stuff like that. Gymnastics and track. Simone Biles. Oh, jeez. Simone Biles. I think if you look at Nadia, if you look Nadia Comaneci, back in the '70s. If you look at who else? Um, um, I think a couple of them came after her, but Simone Biles. I don't think they have anything on Simone Biles. I think she was. I think Nadia was the one that did the perfect 10 stuff and all that. But when Simone Biles came in the picture, I don't think anybody beat her. Um, yeah. Um, yeah. But good gymnasts. Um, they was good gymnasts. They're good gymnasts. You know. I wish I'd have gotten to that gymnastics. Um, when I was younger. Um, yeah, but I didn't. But it's nice to see someone else do it. Simone Biles, what a great gymnast. I like watching her, man. She can do just about everything, man. And and I like to see the males too. You know, the males do it. Um, I like the track team too, and the Olympics, the track team too. The men, women, doesn't matter. You know, but hey, um, yeah. But hey, um, but I look at all my favorites, you know, my favorites and stuff. Um, and whatever. Remember Nancy Grace? Nancy Grace. Nancy Grace was something. She didn't care. Nancy Grace, man. Hey, Nancy Grace. Chill, baby, chill. Nancy Grace was something, man. She be getting back with those lawyers, man. Yeah. Ain't that and Gloria already fighting for victims. She's a warrior, man. You know, she put the fork down, man. Put the fork down, man. Yeah. Gloria already. Yeah, she be out there fighting, man, for victims, man. When no one else was, no one else stepped in place. When it comes to women, I mean, like, when it comes to helping women, I think she stepped right in, man, and she helped them. I think she can do all kinds of press conferences and stuff for those victims, and because she is a public person, she can do that. And but Cosby, I really don't think that the women should, like, really. I think the women wanted Cosby to be locked up, and Gloria already and the victims wanted Cosby to be locked up. But I think Cosby is paying the price now. I mean, like, you know, they got him, you know, all the colleges took back their awards from him, you know, and you know, and they got laws set in place. Those victims got laws set in place for so women can report rape or whatever. And they got Cosby to they exposed Cosby to the public. And the women, I'm talking about what the women did. You know, they took off Cosby shows from TV. So they did a lot to Cosby. Even though Cosby may not be in prison, they did a lot to Cosby, though. Those women. You know, I'm not sure what Cosby can get now. I'm not. I think he probably gets stand-up, but I'm not sure. I don't know. But I think because of what he did to the women, a lot of things were taken from Cosby. Like, and that's why I say the women shouldn't, you know. I think what they wanted was him to be in prison, you know, and you know, I think in some ways that's, you know, that's right, but they still did a lot to Cosby. Cosby got a lot of things taken away from him because of those women coming out on him. So they shouldn't be so unhappy, you know. I mean, I think the thing is that they wanted him in prison. Yeah. Um, but they still got a lot of things taken away. Cosby got a lot of things taken away because of those women. Yeah. But it is what it is. Um, and Mrs. Cosby, I don't know, man. I Mrs. Cosby. I think again. I think Mrs. Cosby knew what was what Cosby was. I don't think she knew that Cosby was drugging and raping and sexually assaulting women. I don't think she knew that. I think she knew that Cosby was out having sex with other women. And that, but she never, I think she eventually left Cosby. And she, but I don't think she did it like in a public way. I don't think she said, I'm leaving Cosby. I don't think she did it that way. I think she just left Cosby. I think she's still in charge of certain things for Cosby and stuff, but I don't think she's with Cosby. And I think that she sent a message to those women. I ain't talking about those rape victims. I'm talking about those other women. I think she sent a message to those other women. Y'all may be sleeping with my husband, but I'm wife number one, and there will not be wife number two. And she sent a message to those women. Y'all may be sleeping with my husband. I ain't talking about those rape victims. I'm talking about those other women. Y'all may be sleeping with my husband, but I'm wife number one, and there will not be a wife number two. And his money and property, you are not getting that. Like that. And she sent a message to those women. And that's why she never divorced Cosby. She might have left Cosby, but divorce